mental preparedness is half the game when it comes to proper training protocol. And if you got time to fuck around and text and get on Facebook and whatever, you're not training hard enough. I can guarantee it. Hey everybody, I'm Ethan.
And I'm Sean.
And this is episode 4 of the Vitamin E Show. Today we have a special guest with us, my little brother Hayden.
What's going on?
And today we're going to talk a little bit about how to properly clean bulk. Okay? So we get asked a lot every day. Lots of members come in, lots of guys come in, and they want to add some size.
They want to get jacked.
Yeah, get jacked. So we're going to kind of break down a little bit of what that exactly is going to take. Hopefully provide you with some good information on how to figure out some macros and calories on your own. Of course, we could always help you out with that, but dive into that first. So, first things first, I am John Doe. I come in, I'm about 170, 15% body fat, relatively skinny all my life, and I want to gain some weight. Okay? What does everyone say? We'll just need to eat and eat everything, right? So
I'm good with that.
Kinda. I mean, you do have to eat, of course. You can't grow if you're not eating. You have to be in a caloric surplus, or you're not going to gain weight. So, but calories are not all created equal. And if we're just in a caloric surplus and we're trying to lean bulk, and we don't just want to add weight, we want to make sure we're adding lean mass and not a lot of fat. Keep the fat gain to a minimum with that bulk. So I think that's probably one of the hardest things to do in this industry, besides maybe cutting to sub 10% for a male body fat. So let's kind of talk a little about what it takes for a clean bulk.
Well, I definitely think that it takes a lot more discipline to do a lean bulk than does a cut, because you got to put in a lot more time, you got to put in a lot more meals, and you really have to make sure you're watching what you eat. Instead of just shoving everything in your mouth. I mean, that's, you're going to gain fat off of that. So, definitely make sure.
It's also, you have to do phases. You have to do cycles during that bulk to cut. You're basically doing mini cuts within your bulk. You can do carb cycling. That could be weekly. That could be daily. That could be every 2 weeks. That would be dependent on your genetics, on what you know. If you know that you innately or genetically tend to gain body fat easily, then you should probably carb cycle on a daily basis within the week, right? If you're someone who stays more lean, like Frank, can eat whatever he wants and not gain any body fat, then maybe you can do more of a bulk for 2 weeks and then a lower carb week following those 2 weeks, or maybe even stretch it out to a 3 week where you're eating more. So it's totally individual. It's not the same rules not going to apply to everyone as far as how you're going to cycle those carbs. Like for me, for instance, mine would be either weekly or even 4 days out of the week I'm going to be in a high carb caloric surplus, and then 3 days out of the week I'm going to be low carb, high fat. For like a mini cut within that week, So it's highly goal dependent. But I think one of the biggest pieces of misinformation, or maybe just lack of information, is people don't understand how much protein they have to eat in order to gain muscle. Okay, so I can think of tons of guys right off the top of my head that they want to know why they can't gain any muscle mass, so they've gained a little bit of weight, now they can't gain any more. So let's talk a little bit about why that happens, so everyone knows about newbie gains. You haven't been working out, you get in the gym and you start lifting weights and you're eating some protein and you're trying to get you some chicken and some broccoli and some rice, and you gain weight, of course, because you haven't been doing anything. But once that stops, then it's the long-term slow and steady process that I think people lack for frame of reference, how long it's going to take, and also how much protein they actually have to eat. So let's break down protein first. Okay, 1.5 grams to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight is generally what you're going to need for a bulk.
Right.
Everybody agree?
Yeah.
So I mean,
For a bulk.
for me, I'm like right at 270. So let's do the math real quick.
Handy calculator.
Handy dandy calculator. At 1.5, That's 405 grams of protein, and that is what I eat. I eat 410 every day. 410.
Vegans hate you.
Yeah, maybe. And I mean, if I was up on the higher end of that, so times 2, 540 grams of protein. Okay, and obviously I'm a big dude. It'd be different. Let's use the average size person. Where are you at? How much you weigh?
200.
No, how much you weigh?
I'm like 190.
Frank, 170, 180. Let's go 180 times 1.5. Okay, so that's 270 grams. Very bare minimum. That's like a 180-pound individual. Okay, bare minimum. At the upper end, if you really want to get serious with it,
serious is the key word. If you want to get
360.
serious, you want to sit there.
360 grams. What I have you on? 325.
325.
Yeah. So it's a lot of protein. That's a lot of meals. That's a lot of food.
Just to give a reference of how much that is, like an average 4-ounce portion of meat, like about the size of the palm of your hand, is going to be around 20 to 25 grams of protein. And that's about it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, 8 ounces of chicken's about 50. So
I can look at most people's plates, and that's the size of meat that they're picking at, trying to finish through their lunch, the one out of the 2 or 3 meals that they're going to have through the day. So,
yeah. How many meals a day? Well, you suck. How many meals a day do you normally eat?
Well, I do intermittent fasting, so I eat from around 2 to 8, and I usually eat
PM? 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I usually do about 4 or 5 meals a day, just depending on how big my meals are, just enough to hit my calorie goals and my macronutrient goals. So around 4 to 5 meals a day.
Sure. So, and I mean, I'm sure when you're on your game, we're talking six.
Ideally, I'm usually at least 4 to 5 meals. That's kind of where I need to be, with at least about 8-ounce portions of meat there. But even at that, I find it start to get hard to get all that in, to even want or feel the urge to eat another meal later on. So.
Right.
It's 1:30 right now, and I have already eaten 36 ounces of chicken today. Okay, and it's not fun. I'm forcing it down. It's not that it tastes bad; it's that I don't want it. It's a lot of food. Okay. This isn't a glamorous, so much fun to eat chicken and rice all day. If I'm eating 4 ounces of each meal, that's easy. But I'm eating 12 ounces of each meal. So I mean, I generally get 4 meals and 2 shakes a day. Right now, because I'm doing intermittent fasting, I'm actually cutting. I'm eating 400 grams of protein, and I'm cutting, not bulking. I usually, my breakfast is, all, eggs, steak, meats and fats, nuts. I have some walnuts too. And then, the rest of the day, I'm only eating about 80 grams of carbs right now, 85 to be exact. And that's all in my last meal post-workout.
Yeah. And
I'm doing intermittent fasting as well. So my feeding window is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And, it's what works your schedule. I know that's your schedule because of what you have outside of the gym. And so, my schedule works better for me. I have trouble getting meals in the evening. So I just cut that out and make sure I can get all my meals in between 9 and 5. Right. I think where people mess up with intermittent fasting, it's possible. Intermittent fasting is a good tool to use for bulking, a lean bulk, because you can shed some excess body fat because of that 16 hours that you're not eating, and still help to put on muscle.
Well, you just got to make sure that you're eating your proper.
You still get the same amount.
Right.
You still get the same amount of calories and macros in that feeding window, which is what people don't do. They just cut a meal out, and then how they're eating one meal less calories, and you want to know why you can't gain weight, or even why you're not losing body fat. Right. You want to know why, because you're not eating enough. You have to eat to cut too.
Your body gets in a scarce mode, and it's going, oh God, we're starving. We need to hold on to this fat storages, and we need to start slowly burning. Because
metabolism slows, so the food you're eating, your body gets less efficient at processing it, over time. So, I mean, obviously, the horror stories of going in starvation mode, it's a real thing. But if we're being real, it takes a while for that to actually have an effect on your metabolism. Right. But,
and that's going literally months with eating.
Months,
without,
And it's not like you can't bounce back from that either.
Right.
You can. You'd rather not go through that if you don't have to. If you can be knowledgeable and learn how to configure your meals before it gets to that point. But back to bulking. So let's get off off the cutting.
Got towards cutting.
So yeah, I mean back to the clean bulk. So we'll get into some training routines in a second, but while we're on the topic of nutrition, you know, you need to figure out what your BMR is and what your total day TDE, total daily energy expenditure is.
Right.
And then you need to add to that. So if you're where to start, let's just say, okay, so my TDE is at about 35 to 3,700 calories, somewhere in there, depending on what formula you use. And if I was going to bulk, step one, let's just say for easy math, let's say 3,500 is my TDE. Then I'm going to add 500 a day to start with and see how that goes. Measure it, and then make changes based off that.
Right.
Okay?
See, the main thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that you're keeping a chart of how much you weigh each day. So you have to keep, you know, and let's say that you add 500 calories and you're just not growing, you're not gaining weight, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, well, I'm not really putting on that much fat. So give it about 2 weeks, bump it up 100, and then go another week, and then just keep going until you start seeing results on the scale.
Yeah.
Just figure it out.
Because like you said, it's all goal dependent. There's not, you know, one particular way that's going to work for every single person. You have to see, okay, is this working for me? If not, adjust, do something, switch it up, and then keep track. And like you said, actually track all of your progress, log it all, so you're able to see week in, week out what you need to adjust this time, what's going to work. And then over time, you start to find out how your body works, and
you also have to adjust.
What's going to hang on.
You have to adjust your macros with your progress. Unbelievable. You have to adjust your macros with your process. Our recording died. We have technical difficulties. Anyway, so you have to adjust your macros with your progress. And when I say that, I mean if week one, let's say you're bulking and you're 170. Week one, you're 170. And 2 weeks down the road, you've put on 3 pounds. And now you're 173. That doesn't make a significant difference, but it makes a difference. You still need to readjust your calories. You know, redo those numbers, plug them in, and figure out where you need to be again. So, I mean, at 3 pounds, you're probably looking at adding 100 calories. But think about that. That means you're going from 500 caloric surplus to 400 to 300 to 200 as the weeks go on, and you stop adding those in.
Exactly.
So it's very important to, as you progress, whether you're cutting or bulking, you have to adjust for your progress.
Well, going back to what you said about mini cuts, usually you want to do a periodization of 4 to 6 weeks to really see results with diet and stuff. So, you know, let's say you're doing 24 months or 24 weeks, which is roughly like 6 months, right? 24
weeks
is 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So 6 months. So let's say that you do a lean bulk.
52 weeks in a year, so 26.
Yeah. So let's say that you do 4 weeks of a lean bulk, and let's say you do 2 weeks of a mini cut, and then go back to 4 weeks of lean bulk, and just kind of figure it out. And then, like I said, just keep track and see what's working for you.
Yeah, I mean, like that doesn't, like, you know, that particular example wouldn't flow for me. Like I have to do more cuts, so I want to keep the body fat down while I'm bulking. So I do more like, you know, 1 week to 2 weeks of that caloric surplus, followed by a week of a cut, to keep the body fat down while adding the muscle mass. So everyone's
different.
It's going to vary depending on how your body responds to carbs, because carbs is going to be the main manipulated macronutrient when you're bulking.
Exactly.
Versus cutting. So it's going to be very different depending on how your body responds. That's why you have to track, because if you don't know how your body responds to something, then you can't make adjustments. So you have to figure out,
making sure that you're logging everything.
Yeah, I don't necessarily log all my meals or my food. What I do is, you know, I use MyFitnessPal. It's pretty easy to use, and I
love that app.
And I put all my meals in for the day, and then I print that out and I put it on my refrigerator, and that's what I'm going to eat this week. I don't log it thereafter, because I'm at a point where if I say I'm going to do this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
I'm not going to deviate from it. And I can eat the same thing all day long, every day, and I'm sorry, everyone who's watching, but that is the only way to do it. Unless your full-time job is get fit and lift, you have a personal chef. You know, there's no way you can eat different foods every day, mixing up, keeping track of your macros. That's just unrealistic. You're setting yourself up for failure with that. You can do it for a few days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on your discipline level. But that's going to get very exhausting, and you're going to stop doing those things, and then you're going to go right back into whatever you're doing before. Right. So stop trying to get fancy with it. Eat the same few meals.
Well, see what you were saying. Like you pretty much eat the same thing. Now I go to like 3 or 4 different places to get food. Like whenever, because I'm at work and I have to make sure that I'm, getting everything good. So, like Rock and Roll Sushi. I love sushi. I go up there and I get 2 tuna avocado rolls almost every time. So every time I go in there, they're just like, "Oh, you're getting the same thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting the same thing every time." Like Chick-fil-A, I get a grilled chicken cool wrap, which is pretty much like grilled chicken and green leafy vegetables and cheese wrapped up in it and stuff like that. And whenever like I put in my order, they're like, "Oh, okay." I get to the window, they're like, "You get the same thing every time, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Well, there's not that many options when you. I would definitely use, especially fast food, but I would definitely use restaurants and such as an emergency thing because they're never going to prepare the food the same way that you need to be preparing them or exactly the same. And I'm just not a big fan of fast food at all, but obviously if you have to do something, you got to do it. You got to build it around your schedule. But I go to the store, I buy, if I'm eating chicken this week, then I'm buying, I eat about 36 ounces of chicken a day. So, figure out how many pounds it is a week and buy it. And then that's what I eat for the week. And that's a little bit of how I keep myself committed to that because I don't want to waste the money I just spent on this protein, right? You just got hours on end every day to put into meal prepping. You're going to have to kind of stick to the same few items at least per week.
Stick to something
There's not going to be a whole lot of, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to deviate.
And I know one thing that I know I personally have kind of done to get around getting tired of the same things all the time is just play around with the seasonings. The, stuff, of course, that isn't going to be loaded with sugars and kind of mess up your macros there. But, I might cook 1 pan of lemon pepper chicken, 1 pan of garlic chicken, 1 pan of something else, just some seasoning, salt, and some pepper. And that way, at each meal you're still getting a little bit different flavor, but eating the same thing all the time. So,
and just a quick side note on that, and I have no investment in this company, so this is totally just free information. But Flavor God Seasonings has a very, very wide variety of seasonings for food. So if you're looking to and it's very high quality too. You're going to pay a little bit more for it than you would stuff at Walmart, but it's pretty high quality seasonings, like gluten free, things like that. So Flavor God is a brand there. We're running up on time, so let's wrap this up with a few, sum up what we just said. So main thing for a bulk is you need to know TDE, okay?
Right.
And we'll link up.
Put a link.
We'll link up a website you can go to. You'll be able to plug your information in and figure out that for yourself. And you need to add about 500 calories to that starting for a bulk. And I would suggest picking something, sticking with it for like what Hayden said, about 4 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
To see how your body responds to that and see how much fat you're going to put on a little fat probably. It's going to happen. But how much fat you put on is going to dictate how you should cycle your mini cuts within your bulk for a lean bulk. So first, just stick to 4 weeks of 500 added onto your macros. For that, again, 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and then pick whatever works for you. That will give you how many calories you should eat in protein, and then you just subtract that from the calories you're supposed to eat and break that down between carbs and fats. I myself prefer to get most of those via fats, also for testosterone elevation purposes, that too, and just joint health. But if you want to get more carbs, whatever, you have the numbers to play with. You can break those macros up however you want. Obviously, the better quality of those foods are going to determine the better quality of gains.
Right.
Didn't have a whole lot of time to cover. Well, you know what? Let's just do a longer show because I want to cover training protocol. So
can I add in something?
Yeah.
That I wanted to touch on is don't neglect cardio when you're bulking. Definitely, a lot of people do cardio when they cut, just to get that extra caloric deficit. But I know some guys that do bulks and they just neglect cardio completely. That's not the case. You want to still have the health benefit from cardio more than just the weight loss.
Well, also,
and it's going to help you stay leaner.
If you're not doing cardiovascular activity, your strength training will suffer because
Right.
you'll get tired faster. You can't push yourself as hard as longer. So I mean, all of it definitely integrates. So definitely do less cardio if you want to bulk, or eat more food.
Eat more food, yeah.
That would be the preference. But I realize if we're trying to be realistic, maybe do 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week, whatever
Yeah.
it may be. But you shouldn't neglect cardio
Don't
altogether.
ever neglect.
But training protocol for gaining. So, you know, we were just talking about this earlier, but with someone last night, we were talking about this. So, proper training is largely going to be dependent on mind-muscle connection and your mental focus during your
Right.
exercise. So, not just pushing the weight. So I'm not just doing a bench press, trying to move the weight. I'm trying to mentally contract my chest and
That's what
squeeze.
Sean's like, I close my eyes and try to envision my muscle like the picture on the
Actually
machine
working.
is, and
Yeah.
actually working and pushing through.
Arnold preached that.
Yes.
He preached that, like visualize the muscles growing. I know you're all going to think this sounds nuts, but mental preparedness is half the game when it
Right.
comes to proper training protocol. And if you got time to fuck around and text and get on Facebook and whatever, you're not training hard enough. I can guarantee it. Also, if you can still do a rep, you're not training hard enough.
Right.
I don't think people know what real positive failure is. So just because it burns and I don't want to lift this anymore or I'm exhausted is not failure. True positive failure can only be achieved with a training partner or a coach who's there to help you through that movement when you actually do hit that failure point. Like not just, I'm trying as hard as I can and the bar's going the wrong way. That's failure,
Right.
And
Having to have somebody
and you're going to
spot.
have someone pull you through that rep plus another few reps. The reason why, when you train, you're training mostly fast twitch muscle fibers when you're doing resistance training, and you have two different types of fast twitch muscle fibers. You have 2A and 2B fibers. Your 2A fibers are primarily responsible for all the movement of the weight. Your 2B fibers, however, and let's say if you never hit this 2B fibers, you will grow, right? You will grow, but you'll hit a point where you can't grow anymore and you
Genetic
plateau.
potential.
Right. And that's because you're not hitting the 2B fibers. 2B fibers only get engaged, depending on the muscle group, between 15 and 20 reps plus. However, that's not the best way to get there. The best way to get there is through true failure. When you actually hit muscle failure, your 2B fibers will kick in, and then you need a training partner so that you can do a few more reps under that failure state.
That's definitely true.
Only way to do it. Only way to maximize your gains. And that training is not fun. It hurts. It hurts. It's just part of it.
Right.
It's not necessarily meaning that you have to use an ungodly amount of weight. I generally shoot for failure between anywhere from, at the very, very low end, 6 reps and high end 12 reps, and then do a few more reps after that with the help of a training partner.
And I definitely think you should know your 1 rep max on a lot of stuff, because the maximum strength is going to happen anywhere from 55 to 85% of your 1 rep max. So you definitely need to figure out what that is, so you'll know how much weight to train with the reps that you're going to be using as well.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you're not shorting yourself out none. And that goes back to what he's saying. You're going to need a partner to lift the weight up off your chest, because you're not going to be able to do it no more.
And just a little bit of housekeeping. When training like this is very important for proper warm-up. Very, very important for proper warm-up. If you try to jump into a training session like this without having thoroughly warmed up,
no static stretching.
If you're doing chest, then a set of incline presses is not warming up, or a set of push-ups is not warming up. You should spend 5 to 10 minutes getting warmed up, not only just that muscle group, but the joints involved in the movement. So,
It's overall hit.
if we're doing chest, we need to warm up shoulders, we need to warm up elbows, we need to warm up wrists. You got to warm up everything. Neck, you need to get everything moving. You don't want to come in from the office, sit down, and go into this type of training protocol. It will be rough, and you are going to be setting yourself up for injury. We're approaching 25 minutes, so I think we should probably wrap it up there. But we'll link up the TDE calculator in the post, so you can figure that out. We have started uploading these to YouTube as well, so you can find all these videos on our YouTube channel, also our Facebook page, and I'll be notifying you guys via Instagram whenever we do upload the newest one each time. Have anything else you want to say?
No, I think we pretty much covered all of it. Main points in the lead bolt is make sure you find what your TDE is. Don't neglect cardio. Make sure that you're pushing in the gym. I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything. So
Yeah.
good.
All right, guys. Well, that is episode 4 of the Vitamin E Show. Hope that was helpful. See you next time.